everybody, and welcome. Uh, Welcome to the AutoCAD Custom User Interface webinar, brought to you by Topcon Solutions Stores. I am your host, Vinny Stamato. I'd like to welcome everybody today, and I'd like to start by acknowledging how precious everyone's time is and how I sincerely thank you all for joining me here today. I assure you this presentation will be time well spent. At Topcon Solutions, we hear from many of our AutoCAD users that working remotely, either from their home or at a job site with their laptop, that they would like to be able to optimize their screen workspace. So having a smaller screen doesn't necessarily mean that you're limited to a smaller workspace. And with so many options in AutoCAD and being in go mode on the job, you may not have time or the luxury to customize your workspace in a way that's more efficient for you. So I've created this webinar with some simple solutions and some more in-depth ways to manage your workspace to get the most from a smaller screen. By the end of this webinar, you will be confident with the tools to customize your user interface and save space on your screen. So a little bit about me. I'm a software application specialist and an Autodesk certified instructor. I've worked in vertical and horizontal construction for over 25 years. I've used AutoCAD for electrical design. I've used it as a detailer in residential construction. I've always been inspired by this tool. I'm really glad to be here with you all today. About us, Topcon Solutions is the retail arm of Topcon Positioning Systems, the world leader in construction layout, machine automation, and land surveying products. Along with selling the complete portfolio of Topcon products, Topcon Solutions is a platinum tier and award-winning Autodesk value-added reseller, a platinum level Bluebeam partner, and we've got certified instructors on staff. And we have locations throughout the Pacific Northwest, the Midwest, and throughout the Northeast. We offer state-of-the-art training with certified instructors along with unparalleled technical support and service to keep your software and your equipment humming right along. So today's agenda, to start with, Diana is going to introduce a poll, just checking with folks to find out their experience with AutoCAD. And she'll also tell us where the two handouts are located. Actually, I can help you with that. There are two handouts in the handouts pane. Diana could explain a little further. We'll be referencing these handouts during the webinar, and they're yours to keep. After that, we'll go over the interface and the workspace, and we'll talk about creating your own custom workspace. We'll look at customizing a tool panel. We'll look at creating your own ribbon panel. We'll then talk about how to save your custom user interface. And one of those handouts that I just referred to is basically the transfer your settings handout, which will tell you how to save your custom user interface. And then after that, we'll go through some troubleshooting tips with Josh Hickey, who is our Midwest AutoCAD specialist and trainer. Thank you, folks. Thank you all for being here. So just to check, everybody can see my screen still?
Yes.
Cannot. Okay, great. So to get started, I just want to mention, so the idea here is you could create more than one workspace for different functions with tools you use most frequently for specific tasks, or a discipline-specific workspace that you have just the tools that you need for those workflows. Say you're doing landscape design, you could have just tools, set up in your workspace for landscape design and not have tools for mechanical design, and vice versa. So to start with, let's take a look at the AutoCAD interface, the ribbon, and then onto the workspace. And the idea here is to give us more screen space. So I'm looking at my laptop, and it's the size of a laptop. It's not very big, as most of us use. Say we're traveling or we're on a job site or something like that, and we're working from home, like a lot of us are doing right now. So we'll go over a few things that we can do to give you a little bit more of a workspace without getting into a lot of customization, and then we'll get into some customization a little bit deeper. So one thing I'd like to mention is hiding your Windows taskbar. So I have my taskbar on auto hide, so it's not taking up any space. We also posted for newer folks commands and F7 keys in the AutoCAD shortcuts. So as we make our screen space smaller and kind of remove some things from our ribbon or make our ribbon smaller, using the keyboard commands or the F7 keys would help you be a little bit more efficient. Right here, I want to point out, so our workspaces are going to be this little cog wheel. And if you don't have that or know where it is, in this little down on the lower right of my screen under customization, I could turn on my workspaces, and that's this little cog wheel. And if I open this up, I've got AutoCAD's, 3 basic workspaces in here. I'm in the 2D drafting and annotation. That's what I use primarily. And then I created this workspace called Demo that will just show kind of the finished look of the workspace. You could save your current workspace. And there's Customize in here as well. And then the instructions will talk a little deeper about how to save it and how to basically save your workspace on a flash drive. So it's not, stored somewhere in AutoCAD if you need to reload your software for some reason or change machines or something like that. Your workspace is transferable. And also, with that being said, if you upgrade, say, from 2020 to 2021, you could transfer your workspace as well as your profile. So let's take a look here. I've got this, my little Viewcube and my Navbar over here. So if I'm not using, I don't use the Viewcube often, right up here in the ribbon under the View tab, Viewcube, turn it off, not using it. My Navbar, don't really use my Navbar a lot. I use it for zoom extents, but I could use my keyboard for those functions. So again, that could go away. I could also turn off my my coordinate system icon if I want. I like to keep mine on. So that's a little bit more screen space, I'd say. And then the other one, real quick, is I got my file tabs up here, which take up a little bit of space. So what I've done is I went ahead and put the switch windows command right up here. So I could switch windows here, and then I could just come over to my file tabs, once again in the view tab, over to my file tabs and turn that off. Gives me a little bit more space. And some of you may already have this. So now if I want to change files, I could just come right up here in my quick access toolbar, and I've got my options. The other thing I did, I loaded my quick access toolbar with some of the tools that I use. There are more, but I just as an example, I've got like my calculator, my XREFs, my layers, switch windows, text, dimension, quick dimension, things like that. If I right click up in this, well, actually, if I hit this little drop down, I could see some of the available options in my quick access toolbar. And I could also add to the quick access toolbar basically by right clicking on any one of my tools and then click add to quick access toolbar, and it'll just pop it up there. So where I'm going with this is by removing some of the tools from my ribbon, I can make my ribbon really small, or I could even eliminate my ribbon, give myself more space. The other thing you see over here on my screen on the top left, I went ahead and put these, like I've got my design center, I've got my tool palettes and my properties over here. Well, the reason I did that is to get rid of things off of my ribbon. Shut this guy down. And I also found that if you go ahead and right click in this bar over on the far left of the screen, I could change from text to icons. And the thing I don't like about the text is oftentimes I'll be doing my thing and accidentally hover and open one of these panels up, and it just kind of gets in the way. I found by going to icons, I could see exactly the icon, I could recognize it. Designers like us, we're visual people, and oftentimes seeing the icon itself or the thumbnail itself tells more of a story than seeing the text, right? That's from my perspective. All right, so I've got things like my properties, tool palettes. I've got them hidden over here. You could add a whole lot more down here. Most of these guys, and if you haven't used this, if I open up actually I'm gonna turn on my properties panel. If I click on my cogwheel, in the properties panel, I've got my allow docking and anchor left, or I could anchor right, and I've got auto hide on. So what the auto hide does is when I click out onto the screen, it automatically hides it. And just by hovering over it, it opens back up. So now let's take a little look at a couple other things. So docking palettes, there's another tool. Once you're really comfortable with your key commands, you could come down and there's this clean screen. And once again, it's in my all my options over here. And if I click on clean screen, it's going to go ahead and remove the ribbon. It's going to remove all of my palettes. And now I'm basically working just with keystroke commands. So another way to have this will give you pretty much the most space for your for your screen. So that's the clean screen function down there. I turned it back on. Let's see. So now, once I kind of go through this and set up my workspace the way I like it, I could come right down here to the cogwheel, save current as, give it a name, whatever name you choose, or you can, as you change a workspace that you currently use, just click on that workspace and save. And then you could switch to that workspace whenever you like. And like I said earlier, you could have a workspace for, say, 3D work. You could have a workspace for mechanical design. You could have a workspace for architectural design, whatever whatever disciplines you're working. So now let's take a look at one other really cool little option. So under my home tab over here, I've got my panels. Under my draw panel, I went ahead and added a tool to this draw panel. So the next thing I'm going to show here is how to add tools to the existing panels. The idea behind that is you can turn some of these panels off and have, once again, the ability to not use your ribbon or limit the amount of, I don't want to say distraction, but the amount of noise that you see up here, all these different icons and things. So if I right click on my ribbon in here in the ribbon itself, and I go over to show tabs, these are the tabs that are currently open, and I've got some tabs turned off, like my output, add-ins, featured apps, things like that. Tabs that I'm not necessarily going to use, 3D tools, I'm not going to be using that. And then under panels, so these are the panels that you currently see, they're all turned on. I could go ahead and just select whatever panels I want to turn off or on. So another troubleshooting tip is if you turn this on and some of these panels are off and you're like, hey, wait a second. By right clicking, going to show panels, you can see which panels are on or off right here. And you could, like I said, turn any of these off. Like my block panel, I could put my blocks docked. I could go ahead and turn blocks off. And then the other thing, this is one of the tools that I see folks accidentally click, the minimize panel buttons. That's going to give you a little bit more screen. And when I was a new user and I came across this button and accidentally clicked on it, I thought, uh-oh, I broke something. Not knowing that it was just a matter of cycling through this button to see all the different options as far as, in your ribbon. And same here, you could minimize your ribbon to just the tabs. And by hovering over each tab and clicking, then I'm going to see the rest of the ribbon. But the nice thing about this is you see your ribbon. And like I said, like myself, I'm a visual person. I could identify my tools so much easier that way. So, all right, let's see. And then minimize the panel buttons. All right, and I'll go back to show full ribbon. So now let's look at adding a tool to our panel. So if you guys type in CUI, that's your customized user interface. And then it brings up this dialog box. And at first, it looks like there's a lot in here, but after you kind of poke around in this for a little while, you realize it's really well laid out. What I have here is in the top is my ribbon. So right up here, I've got my workspaces. Here's my demo workspace that I created, my quick access toolbar. Under this, I've got my ribbon and toolbars. So if I open up the ribbon, I've got my tabs and my panels. Down below on the left, I've got all my AutoCAD commands right in here. So for starters, I'm going to go ahead and open up my panels, and I'm going to scroll down to my home 2D draw panel, open that up. And if I click on the home 2D draw text, you could see that panel itself. So for instance, say I've used this draw panel, but there's some tools in here that I just don't use, and they're just there. I don't know why, but me, I like to be efficient. I like to have my workspace really as clean as possible. So in this case, I could go ahead and remove tools from this that I don't use, or add tools to it that I do use. So let's take a look at what we've got here. So we've got a row across the top, row across the middle, and a row across the bottom. And then we've got these flyout windows over here on the right side. And that's all displayed right in here. So I've got row number 1. Here are my different tools. Let's see down here, I've got row number 2. Here are my different tools. And row number 3. Here are the different tools for row number 3. So I want to address this dimension linear tool that I put in here. And I'm going to go ahead and remove it. So any tools in here that you don't want, or if you add a tool and then you decide you don't want it, I could just go ahead and hit remove. Yes, I want to delete that element. And now what I wanted to show was how to add a tool. So I'm just going to type in dimension linear, and of course it's not going to show up. I think it's, nope. All right, well, let's just type in dimension. Here it is. So let's see, dimension. And just so folks know, if you've ever done a presentation and you've practiced it, when you go to the presentation, that's when AutoCAD's gonna sneak up on you and do some funny things. All right, so now I've got dimension linear here. Single left click on that tool, drag it up, and you get the do not enter sign. And then if I just hover, I get that bar, and that bar is telling me where it's going to be placed on the tool, on the panel. So now I've added this tool to this panel. And again, I could click on any one of these and put any one of these onto any panel. So adding a tool to a panel, and I'll hit apply and okay. Then I'll come over here to my draw panel drop down. And here's the tools that I added. There's this, and then I added, gosh, I forget, I grabbed another one. I added the align tool earlier, and my dimension tool. Not that I necessarily want these tools here, but just as an example of adding tools to a panel. And the next thing here is, now that we've added a command to the draw panel, you could add any command to any panel or to any toolbar. So let's take a look at the ribbon. So as you see, the ribbon out of the box, generic arrangement of panels, tool palettes, works fine for most applications. The more you use the program, the more you would like to kind of customize and not have to switch between different tabs and different panels. These panels are movable. Single left click on one of these panels and put it to someplace else. Another tip would be, say, to load the panels that you use most often to one side of the screen or the other. I'm kind of a little more justified to the left of my screen, so I would put the panels that I use most often up here, and then the panels that I seldom use over on the far right. And once again, it's just a single click, drag to actually pull it off the ribbon, dock it on a separate monitor, or relocate it on this ribbon itself. The other thing you could do with your ribbon, if I right click up in the top of the ribbon here, I could undock my ribbon, and there it is. So now I've got a ribbon that I could dock on, say I've got two laptops. I could dock this on the other laptop or on another screen if I like. So you could undock your ribbon, give yourself more screen space, and I could hover my ribbon back up here and release, and then it populates it back up there. All right, so we've got tabs, panels. We looked at our titles, and we looked at minimizing our tabs. So let's look at creating a new ribbon panel. So the next thing I want to show you is I created, let's see, is it in there? I don't see it. I think I turned it off. Oh, here's this panel that I created. I just named it Panel 1 just as a default, and I just added some draw order tools to it. So the idea with this is by creating your own panel, you could put just the tools you want on it and turn off all the other panels. So you don't have all this, like I call it, noise or extra, distractions on your screen. So let's take a look at that real quick. Back to the CUI, customize user interface. And before we get into a lot of modification, in the custom user interface, if I right click up here at the AutoCAD A where it says ACAD, if I right click on ACAD, it gives me a couple of options. This is good to know. So if you paint yourself into a corner and you've made some changes that you don't like and you kind of think maybe you're stuck with it or not, you can restore your previous settings here, or you could reset to the AutoCAD out of the box settings and get back to square one and then go back in and do some customization if you like. So that's a good to know. So now let's go ahead and we'll create a new ribbon panel here. So in this customize pane on this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this ribbon and I'm going to open up panels. And then I am going to right click on panels and choose new panel. And what it does when you create a panel, it's going to populate it at the very bottom of this long list. I tried renaming it with a name that's going to put it at the top of the list. Didn't work. So it's down at the bottom of the list. So here's this panel. If I want to create new rows, I could right click on row and add new row. And then I'm just going to click the apply button. All right, now let's add some commands. So I've got a new panel. Let's go to, I'm just going to make another one with draw order tools. So here's draw order. Once again, left click, drag it up. I'm going to place it in this top row. I'll do another draw order tool. Once again, I'm just kind of randomly grabbing some tools out of the draw order selections. And then I'll go to row 2 and we'll add some other draw order tools to row 2. So now I could have multiple rows, 2 rows, 3 rows if I like. And if I look over on the right side of the screen, you could see the thumbnail or the view of the panel itself with your tools that you just placed in that panel. All right, so now we have our own custom ribbon panel. Next step is going to be, we're going to add this panel to a tab, and then we'll go ahead and add that tab to our custom workspace. All right, so next thing I'm going to do here is come over to panel 2. And you could name this anything. I just went with the default name, save time, but here you could rename it. You could delete it, duplicate. You've got your options in here. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and go ahead and click on copy. And then I'm going to scroll back up to my tabs. and I'm going to open up my tabs, and I'm going to place that in my Home 2D, under my Home 2D tab. So I'll right click on that, and I'll click Paste. So now this panel 2 has been added to my Home Draw tab, which is right up here. So I'll hit Apply and OK. And let's see what it does. There it is. Over here on the far right, folks, panel 2. So we've just added this panel. And like, not that I want to just keep adding panels. And again, this is just in lieu of removing or turning off some of these other panels. Like this utilities panel right here, I've got measure, I've got my quick measure up here, I've got my calculator over here. You know, and if I want to use these other quick select, I could just type in, you know, for quick select, or I could just type in select all, and I could come up in here and, you know, come to my show panels and turn off my utilities panel. You know, again, saving some space. All right, so now we've created a panel and we've added it to the Home 2D ribbon. So next, let's take a look at creating a ribbon tab in our custom workspace, and then we'll add our panel to that custom ribbon tab. So again, I've got these ribbon tabs up here. If I don't use everything that's in these ribbon tabs, like this collaborate, just a couple tools in here, I could get rid of this tab. I could get rid of this ribbon tab if I'm not using all of these. My tool palettes I've got over here, some of these other commands say I'm not using them. You get the idea. So let's go back to our CUI. And here we are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a tab, and we're going to customize our custom workspace with this new tab. So let's start by, I'm going to open up the ribbon node, and I'm going to come over to tabs, and I'm going to right click and create a new tab. And for the new tab, we'll just call this one tab 1. All right, and then we're going to add our panel to this tab 1. So we'll go back to our ribbon, and we'll go to our panels, and we'll come down to the panel, the new panel that we created. Sorry about all the time on that. All right, here's our panel. Open it up. Here's what we created. Right, we've got this panel that we created. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to copy it to that tab that we just created. So come back up to tabs and back down to my new tabs. Oh, I'm in my ribbons. I'm in my panels. There it is. Turn off that. Come over here to tab 1 and paste. So now I've pasted this into my tab, got my tab. Now the next thing I want to do is add my tab to my workspace. So to get there, I want to come up to my workspace. Up here in the top, this is the workspace that I created earlier, my demo workspace. Now I'm going to come over here to this workspace dialog box, and I'm going to click on Customize Workspace. Open that up. Now I could add tabs, I could remove tabs. I'm going to scroll down to that new tab, actually to tab 1 that we just created, and click on it. And as soon as I click on the Customize Workspace up here, I get a Done option, and then I get all these little check boxes, which is going to allow me to customize by adding these tabs right over here, adding this particular ribbon tab, and then here's my panel inside that. And then I'll just click Done. Customize Workspace. There's my new tab. I'll go ahead and hit Apply, and then OK. And AutoCAD will do its thing. Come on, tab. Let me go to see if it's in my, all right, let me go to my demo workspace. There we go. All right, so this is the workspace that I added the tab, and here is my tab one. I did one a little earlier called new tab, but here's tab one, and then here's panel two. So again, not necessarily saving a great deal of workspace, but eliminating clutter, folks. I could have this tab that I created. I could open up the panel, that one panel that I created, and just have the little icons in this panel that I wish to use. I've got a drop down. I could add a flyout to this one. Okay. So just cleaning up our ribbon, and then I could, let's say for instance, we had some time on our hands, as we seldom don't, but say you have a little time on your hands and you went ahead and created your own tab with just the tools you wanted. I could come over here and I could turn off all these other tabs. It's a one at a time thing. Show tabs, turn all these guys off. So you get the idea. I could clean up my workspace for starters. I wish you could multi-select these, but one at a time. All right, anyway. So again, the idea here is minimize two tabs, and now say, looks a little bit cleaner, right? I kind of like that look. I've got however many tabs I'd like. Click on the tab. In this case, it'll show the panel, or I could show my panels as well. Or I could minimize my panels. Let's say minimize the panel buttons. So again, it's giving me some more screen space, and I could still see my panel icons. And I'll just minimize to tabs. All right, and then the next one is once you're really comfortable with your AutoCAD keys and functions, you could populate your shortcut, your quick access tools right up here across the top, down here to clean screen, and there you go. So you've got, much more screen real estate without a whole bunch of, extra icons or extra things in your screen. You can also hide your sheets down here if you want, but it's not going to buy you any more space. And then you could hide your command bar. I could shorten it. Anyway, giving you some more space. Hopefully, by giving ourselves more space, we give ourselves more time, and then all is good. So that's what I've got to show everybody. We've gone through adding tools to a panel, adding a panel to a ribbon, adding a tab to a ribbon, adding panels to a tab, cleaning up our screen. And I know we've got some expert elite users out there, which may, if you folks got even more fancier tricks over the years you may have developed, please chime in. However, this is what I've got for everybody. At this point, I want to say thank you so much, and I'd like to just turn it over to whatever questions. Where are the PDFs? Oh, I see. Okay, question and answer. So yeah, we've got Josh on the line, who is one of our expert elite users, and he could answer some of those high-level questions if you guys have some questions. I do want to thank you for, let's see, go back to this. I do want to thank everybody for being here with us today. You could reach us at topconsolutions.com, info@topconsolutions.com. I could be reached at vstamato@topconsolutions.com. So yeah, at this point, we're done with my part. And again, any questions, please go ahead.
We have a few questions that people have asked. It's at the lower part of the questions, Vinny. One of them was you referenced the drop-down menu to kind of switch between the windows. You called it switch windows. Can you go ahead and show them how to do that again?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the switch windows. So that's going to be, just change here. So under the View tab, there's this Switch Windows tool over kind of on the right side of your ribbon. And if I just click that little down arrow, you can see here I could switch from one window to the next without having my tabs. So the idea there was, in this case, I could turn off my file tabs and just use the switch windows. And then what I did was right click on the switch windows command and add to quick access toolbar. And by doing that, it allows me to eliminate this icon, this tool from the ribbon here. And, basically the idea earlier was culling down. And now I've got my switch windows up here. Hopefully that helped explain that. Thank you for that question.
Oh, you're welcome. As Joey Smith, as far as developing a CUIX and distributing it to a team, my suggestion would be is after you develop it, I'd go ahead and save it on your server. And then all you'd have to do is go into the options and actually route your pathway to the CUX. That way, so when they go ahead and boot up their actual AutoCAD, it will actually pull that CUX and actually have it already loaded when they boot it up. The other option would be is you could actually just send it to them in an email just in case they don't have access to the server at the time, and they can just manually go in and actually load the CUIX on their personal machines. So,
Good question.
we had another question. Robert, he asked, can you change the layout order of items in the quick access toolbar?
I think that's as you load them. Let me see. Yeah, you can't drag on these guys. Let's see here. I don't believe you can. I don't believe you can. I think it's a matter of as you load them in, they basically place themselves in order. Unless Josh, unless you know of another method for that.
I do not right offhand.
Yeah, I think from what I've seen, because I've tried to rearrange them before, and it was a matter of loading them one at a time in order from left to right, the way you'd like them displayed.
We had another question. Where do you access the shortcuts?
Okay, which shortcuts would that be? Where do we access the shortcuts? Is there a particular shortcut? Oh, you mean like the keyboard shortcuts?
I believe so. I believe that's what they were talking about.
Yeah. That is keyboard shortcuts. Oh gosh.
Go ahead and pull up the CUI real quick. Then down there in that list of commands, go ahead and just select, for example, go down and maybe find line. Go ahead and just select spline there. There's line. Okay, so when you actually go into the CUI, you can actually take a look over there. You have your command display name, you have your macros, and that's all the information that you can do. The other option is when it comes to kind of like the shortcuts and stuff, if you're in and you're trying to do a command, go ahead and exit out of the CUI real quick, and then just type in L. You'll end up getting a list of commands right there, and you can kind of scroll down and go ahead and select which command that you want. And that's another way of kind of doing it as well.
And then that shortcuts list, I know I came across that, Josh. It's just eluding me at this moment where that entire list of shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts are, where you could customize them.
We had Peter actually to go ahead and tell us. He said the shortcuts are under the Express tools. Maybe it's under the command aliases.
There it is.
Yep.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
You know, and again, folks, there's so many commands and so many layers of commands. Appreciate the shout out on that. So Express tools, command. So yeah, shortcut keys in AutoCAD are called command aliases. And then here they are. And you could add or remove, you can edit. So you could come in and basically, you know, create your own. Thank you. Thank you for that. Good question.
Outside of that, there's one more question. How do you create or combine icons, i.e. move, rotate, copy, and so on and so forth? I don't think we can actually combine the actual commands together, but as far as the icons, can you go ahead and show them how they can combine those into one toolbar?
Yes. Yes and no, because that's another part of this that I was going to put together. So when we come in here, if I come to my ribbon panels, let's say, I'm going to take text. So here we've got, this is what you're referring to is your icons inside your panel, and removing icons or adding icons is basically going to be, I believe this is, if I'm understanding the question correctly, this is where you would come in and, like, say here under row 1, I've got my multi-line text. And let's see, let me come down to an actual command. Here we are. So if I click on a command without, you know, clicking on anything in the ribbon, if I just come and click on a command itself, this is where it's going to give me the button image or the icon. And this is where you can edit. And I didn't dig into this part of it, but this is where you can edit your button image and or export it. You could have a smaller or larger one. And then over here in the, you know, in the ribbon panels, this is where you can go ahead and add. I believe this is, if I'm like I said, if I'm understanding the question correctly, I believe that's what you were asking.
She said in the past, AutoCAD provided move/rotate command, and now that icon is gone. Does Express Tools exist in LT?
That's a good question. I believe it does. I think the only difference between LT and full-on AutoCAD is LT doesn't have your 3D tools. But I'm not 100% sure. And if you want, we can follow up with you on that and just do a little bit of research and see.
It looks like Express Tools are not supported by AutoCAD LT, and they're not included in the application. So
thank you, Josh.
We'd have to end up getting full-blown AutoCAD in order to get the Express Tools. Outside of that, the move and rotate command, I am not sure if that command still exists. That's something that we can follow up.
From the move and rotate for like these commands, move and rotate?
Says in the past, AutoCAD provided move rotate command, and now that icon is gone. I'm assuming that there was a move and rotate at the same time.
Oh, gotcha. So as you're moving something, you could like say hit the space bar. You can type in and create, now correct me if I'm wrong, but you can type in and create a macro that can do that with your space bar. Let's see, that would be, where are my macros? So I could be way off. So under here, under manage and record, you could get into this action recorder and record, create a function. And it's a little involved to get into right now, but you could create a function on top of a command and go ahead and use this action recorder to do a move and then click and rotate. Don't, you know, I might be a little bit off base on that, but I'm pretty sure that this particular tool and option is going to do that for you.
It looks like I might actually have the command as well. I was looking in the Express tools, and if you type in MOCORO as one thing, and I believe that actually ends up pulling the command up. I was just tinkering in the Express tools because to me that seemed like it was an Express tool itself. So yeah,
so
there
move,
you go.
copy,
It is.
rotate, and scale.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, and that's not in your LT. So
yeah, that would be in the full-blown AutoCAD. That's one thing that I love about this software is even after the years of me being in it, I am constantly learning new things.
that's what I love about it. Keeps us on our toes.
That it does.
And everybody has a different way of using it and utilizing it. It's such a creative tool, you know, and what works for one, not necessarily going to work for somebody else.
There's always at least a dozen ways to get from point A to point B. And like you said, from one person to the next, one path might be better than the other. That's what's great about this software right here. It's very versatile. So, but with that being said, it seems like we've covered majority of the questions that have been in there. I'm not seeing any more. So.
All right.
And there
Okay,
is
folks.
just one more that came in. If we have time to answer that, Josh.
Let me see. Is the align tool the same or similar to MoCoRo? Yes and no. To be honest, when it comes to the MoCoRo, that's just pretty much move, copy, rotate. Whereas the actual align feature, if Vinny wants to go ahead and show it real quick, he can kind of see or do it as well. Go ahead and demonstrate both the commands this way so they can kind of see the similarities and the differences.
So here's align. I'm going to select an object, enter, and select my source point, and then my destination point, and enter. So align, you know, it's just sort of a linear, you know, start with one thing, select it, enter it, select a move point, and then it'll align it to your other object. And I got to say, I've never used the move, copy, rotate, so let's give it a shot. M-O
C-O-R-O.
Move, copy, rotate. All right, see what we got. So let's find a good object here to move, copy, and rotate. How about this? Nope. How about this right here? So I've got this. Got my object. I've got a base point. And so now it's going to give me my options. So all right, so it's basically the same as, you know, the move or the copy command. So I could move it, I could copy it, I could rotate it. So let's just do move for starters. There's our move. Say I want to move and copy. There's move copy. Rotate. I still got it selected. I got my rotation. Scale. I could put in my scale. Scale. Then I could select a base, and I could or I could undo. That's a pretty nice command. So
Kind
yeah,
of nice
so
how it keeps it a running command. That's actually kind of nice right there.
that's the difference. Yeah, it does keep it a running command. So you could move something, move it, copy it, and then move, copy, rotate.
Nice, sounds good. I'm not seeing any more questions popping in.
Solutions, and we cannot wait to have you all here with us for another webinar in the future. Thank you, Vinny and Josh.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Diana.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. And thank you all for listening in.